Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Laura and I like to craft stuff. I went to the fabric store and spent money I probably shouldn't have to get myself some fabric because I felt like it. And you know what? All of those reasons are good. I specifically really wanted to pick out at least two fabrics that I thought went together. Like specifically I chose them to go together because that's unfortunately a luxury these days. Man, everything is so expensive. I laugh so I don't cry. Anyway, I got 3 yards of each of these fabrics and I want to make a block called Formal Garden. It's this one right here. So join me if you want to in making these two into that. I'm also going to be using this as the center square. So I think that's going to be really fun. The lady at the counter said that it reminded her of the 70s. And honestly, Sally, I really like the 70s colors. So, you know, I'm not complaining here. Okay, so the pattern is primarily half square triangles. I also, if we want to take a closer look, by the way, this book is 1000 Great Quilt Blocks by Maggie McCormick Gordon. I have been working out of this book for the past year now, and it's honestly been a blast. They have a lot of blocks. I don't know if it's still in print though. So I apologize, but I'm sure that these blocks are pretty common, honestly. So we're going with this one. So I'm gonna do the blue center, and then I think I want the like flower part of this because I'm thinking that this is the center of the flower and then we've got flower petals. I'm thinking I want the flower part to be the orange, which is the fabric that I chose. I was so drawn to this fabric, and then doing the quote-unquote background fabric in the teal, which is what I chose to go with the orange. So that is the plan there. As per usual, I rarely use her measurements because they're just squares and they're half squares. If we were getting into like non-squares where it's not equal all the way around, then measurements are going to matter. But I figure since everything in this design is ultimately ending up in a square, as long as the two sides are the same, it doesn't matter. So my square here, these are 4.5 inches. So I'm going to cut 5.5 inches from these two fabrics. They are, did I mention that I got 3 yards? I got 3 yards of each of these. And the fabrics that I got, this one, which is just so beautiful. It's like watercolory. I immediately saw it and was like, this is exactly what I was looking for. This is exactly what I was looking for. It is Summer Breeze from In the Beginning Fabrics 2023. Beautiful. And then I paired it with, this was in the blender section. I paired it with Essentials, copyright Joe Taylor, licensed to Wilmington Prints. That's the only like name that I could find for this. But I mean, this isn't the fabric that I would like die for. The fabric I would die for is this one, which I know is extreme, but there we have it. All right, 5.5 inch strips that we're going to cut down into squares, and then we're going to sew them into half square triangles. That's the plan. So before we get into that though, and I mean, if you're only here for the pattern, you can skip ahead, I guess. Do you want to see another fabric that I got that I'm really excited about? I got one of the printed like design fabrics. I don't know how how to say it. I got the National Parks fabric. And I just think it's stunning. So these are like the posters that are sold for the parks. I don't know if they're the actual like official ones or not. And I don't think this has every park because I have I swear a national park, but maybe it's a state park. I swear it was a national park in San Francisco and it's not on here. But also that's a lot of parks. But anyway, my plan with this is, and this is why I'm giving you a sneak peek. Let me know if you want me to film the entire process of this. I want to embroider over this because it very much reminds me of a neighbor from when I was growing up. She would get these kind of large, like some kind of scenery pick, and then she would embroider on top of it. And usually she got it pre-quilted. I don't know that I want to do that. I think I want to embroider while it's like this and then cut them up and like add fabric borders and then put it together as a quilt and then quilt it. But I don't know, I guess, I don't know if the embroidery would get in the way. This might be one that I would have to hand quilt. Possibly. I just think it's stunning. Stunning. I'm so like chomping on the bit to work with this. But one of the other things is I'm so close to finish hand quilting a quilt right now, which have not been filming because because I don't have to film everything, okay? Anyway, I think I want to embroider. Oh, it's so pretty. Anyway, I want to use that hoop. Oh, I didn't even realize that my nails weren't done. Ugh, I'm sorry. I hope that doesn't bother everybody. But yeah, I want to use that hoop, so I have to finish that quilt project first before I can start embroidering these. But I'm so excited. I can't wait to start doing that. So I should probably get back to work on that. But that's an evening project. We'll see. All right. For now, I should probably get to work on these. So just as a heads up for everybody, I do try to post every other Tuesday, you know, when time allows. I do have a day job, so I'm not just spending all of my time sewing, but I try my best. No guarantees, but if you want to join along, subscribe, like, you know, all that stuff. These are my 5.5 inch squares. You can draw a line down from corner to corner. It would be helpful for the next process, which is you're going to be sewing 2 lines from those corners to corners. This is me showing you again, lining those up. I've in the past drawn a line from corner to corner so I can know and have an easier time sewing. I didn't do it this time. And I don't know if one takes more time than the other. I might try it for the next project. I might not. I don't know. We'll see. But I had the room to square down, and so that's why I wasn't too concerned about drawing that line. You can hardly see it, but I have 2 lines of sewing that I've done parallel from corner to corner there, and that allows you to get a half square or a square with half square triangles. Fun stuff. It's a pretty easy, typical process. This is me trimming it down to make it an even square and exactly the size I want it to be, especially since I did not draw a line. Drawing a line definitely makes it a lot more accurate. However, it, I feel like, is more fiddly and takes longer. So I don't know. I will leave that up to you guys to do however you want to do it. Once the half squares are ironed open and trimmed down, then I always like to lay out my design while I'm sewing it because it helps me keep track of where I'm supposed to be going, what I'm supposed to be doing. because I definitely feel like I could get turned around with some of the squares and some of the layouts. So this is laid out as basically a 9-patch. Just some of those squares are half square triangles. And when that happens, I usually take 2 of the rows and I sew them together in one direction. And I do it by chain piecing, and then I sew it again in the other direction. And then I iron it, and then I attach the final 3 squares. I was limited in the amount of blocks that I was making because of those center squares. That fabric, if you have watched all of the videos, then maybe you recognize it from a fabric pack from one of my previous quilts. It was a leftover, fabric, and I had already cut it up for a different project. I don't recall which one. But I had exactly 16 squares, so I was expecting to do a 4x4 layout in the end, which is what I did. Here I am now sewing the next 3 patches with that other one sewn. I would recommend ironing before lining everything up. You can finger press. I think that... Did I iron for... No, I don't think I did. Ultimately, it didn't really make too much of a difference as long as you are making sure to line up those 2 seams from the center square. And I actually had a few blocks where my center block for that 3 strip was just slightly larger than the square that's in the center of the block. And so I would just sew another line to make it smaller. And I think that's what I'm about to do here. You just sew another line on one of the squares and to make it smaller, to make it the same size. I did not have any that were smaller than the center square. Usually the strip of 3, that center square was larger than the center square in the center of the block. I hope all of that makes sense. But either way, I like to line up from the center going out for any of my blocks because I feel like that hides, the center of a block is going to be the most noticeable if it's not lining up properly. And if it's not lining up properly, sometimes I leave it. So... yeah, it's easier to hide, I feel like, if it's on the outside rather than the inside. The next step, once you have all your blocks, is to do a 4-patch. That's pretty much what I did going forward for the entire layout. I did iron between each step from here on out, so all of my blocks are ironed before I laid them out in a 4-patch to sew them together. And I like doing the 4 patches because you can do it without snipping the thread. And it's just easy. You sew in one direction and then you sew in the other. Super simple. I did lay out to see if I liked the teal as the flower petals. And I think that would have worked really well, having the orange as the background and then the teal be the flower petals. That was just as nice as this layout, but I definitely preferred this layout. I also had fabric left over, so this is wound up being approximately a lap quilt size. I did do 4x4 on the layout, and so I had enough. I was thinking about doing a checkered border of those 2 fabrics that I had gotten specifically for this. But halfway through that project, I got frustrated because that requires math that I didn't want to have to do. So, c'est la vie. I will probably add it as a border as a fun project, maybe to try that out without the pressure of filming it. Yeah, I was over at the point where it was not just being an easy thing and I had to fix it. I was like, okay, no. So I did not put on the border just yet, but know that I actually want to do a checkered border on the top and the bottom to make it larger and longer, and then do just one on the side. I like the final layout. I think it looks so nice. I really feel like even though I didn't draw lines, things worked out. I didn't have too many problems with my centers not matching up. And I really like this design. So this might be one that I do again in the future. Let me know if you're going to try it and which colors you would do. Thank you so much for joining me for another video, and I will see you in the next one. All right. Bye.